My mom pushed my innocent 7 years old into the pool just because she spilled juice, until I found proof and made her face the consequences. I'm Trevor, 34, male, truck driver in Seattle. My daughter Maya is 7. And before I get into the absolute disaster that went down at my mother's place, you need to know that this kid has already been through hell. And my mother, Helen, 62-year-old retired school administrator who thought she had all the answers, decided Maya needed discipline and structure instead of the therapy and patience she actually needed. That Tuesday afternoon started normal. I was working from home, had back-to-back dispatch calls, the kind where you can't just bail. My mother had been bugging me for weeks to spend time with Maya, saying I was overprotective, that Maya needed to bond with family. Against my gut instinct, and yeah, that's on me. I agreed to let her babysit for a few hours. I dropped Maya off at my mom's around 1 p.m. Nice house in Bellevue, gated community. My mom opened the door with this tight smile. She looked at Maya's outfit, paint-stained jeans and a dinosaur t-shirt, and I saw her mouth twitch. She couldn't wear something nicer? My mother asked. She's 7 and we're not going to church, I said. It's just a few hours, Mom. She's had lunch. Keep her away from the pool unless you're right there. And if she seems upset, call me. I'll come get her right away. My mother waved me off. I raised 3 kids, Trevor. I can handle one little girl for an afternoon. That should have been my cue to turn around and leave. The dismissiveness, but I had a 2 p.m. call with a dispatcher lining up an $8,000 haul, and I told myself nothing could go wrong in 3 hours. Plus, it's my mother. Of course my daughter would be safe. I was wrong, dead wrong. I got back home by 1:15 on my call by 2, and at exactly 3:40 p.m., my phone blew up. My brother Kyle first, then my uncle Vincent, then some number I didn't recognize. I ignored them during the call. Figured it was some family drama that could wait. Then Kyle texted, "Answer your phone now. Maya's hurt." I dropped everything, grabbed my keys and ran. The drive usually takes 20 minutes in traffic. I made it in 10. The whole time, my heart was pounding. Kyle wouldn't pick up when I called back. Uncle Vincent didn't answer, just this awful silence. When I pulled up, there was an ambulance in the driveway. Lights flashing, back doors open, paramedics moving fast. I threw the car into park and ran. Uncle Vincent was on the front lawn, soaking wet, wrapped in a towel. His face was gray. "Trevor," he started. "Where's Maya?" I cut him off. "Where's my daughter?" He pointed to the ambulance. "She's okay, she's breathing. But your mother?" I ran to the ambulance and found Maya on a gurney wrapped in blankets, oxygen mask over her face. Her lips were blue. Her skin was pale and pruned. Her hair was soaking wet. A paramedic was checking her vitals. I climbed into the ambulance and grabbed her hand. "Maya, baby, I'm here." Her eyes opened. Then her face crumpled and she started crying, quiet, broken sobs. The paramedic gently pushed me back. "Sir, we need to take her to the hospital. She's hypothermic and we need to watch for respiratory issues. You can follow us." "What the hell happened? Tell me." The paramedic looked uncomfortable. "Your daughter was found in the pool. She wasn't breathing when she was pulled out, but we got her back. We need to go now." I looked back at the house. Through the glass doors, I could see my mother on the couch, face in her hands, my brother Kyle standing over her. And right then, before I even knew the full story, I knew she was guilty. My mother had done something unforgivable, and I was about to make sure she paid for it. Before I get into what actually went down that day, you need to understand why this wasn't just some accident. This was psychological warfare on a kid who'd already survived trauma. Nearly 3 years ago, my wife Rachel died in a car accident while Maya was in the back seat. Not peacefully, not quickly. Rachel died over 12 minutes while Maya watched, helpless and terrified. It was an afternoon in October, raining like it always does in Seattle. Rachel was picking Maya up from preschool. I was at a truck stop near Tacoma doing a post-trip inspection. My phone rang around 3:30, unknown number. "Is this Trevor Kane? Your wife's been in an accident. You need to get to Harborview right now." A delivery truck had hydroplaned on I-5, crossed 3 lanes, and T-boned Rachel's Honda on the driver's side going 55. The impact crushed the entire left side of the car. Rachel took the worst of it. Massive internal injuries, crushed ribs, punctured lung, but she held on long enough to turn her head, look at Maya in the back seat, and whisper, "Close your eyes, baby. Don't look at mommy." But Maya didn't close her eyes. She was 4 years old. She didn't understand. She just watched her mother die. Watched the paramedics work frantically. Watched them finally stop. 12 minutes that burned itself into her brain. Rachel died before the ambulance got to the hospital. Maya didn't speak for 3 months after. Not a word. The pediatric psychiatrist said she had acute trauma response and selective mutism. Said it might be permanent. Said we'd need years of therapy. I quit my long-haul routes. Started doing local deliveries so I could be there for every therapy session, every nightmare, every panic attack. We saw Dr. Jennifer Walsh twice a week for 2 years. Slowly, Maya came back to us, started talking again, started sleeping through some nights, started smiling, even laughing, but she never went near pools or lakes. Never wanted to take a bath without me there. Water scared her. Dr. Walsh said it was a trauma association. The helplessness of watching Rachel die got mixed up with a fear of drowning, of being unable to breathe. I explained all this to my mother multiple times. Told her about the therapy, about Maya's triggers, about how we needed to be patient and gentle. My mother's response every time, "You're babying her. She needs structure. She needs discipline. She needs to face her fears, or she'll never be normal." Normal like my kid was broken because she'd witnessed her mother's death and needed time to heal. My mother had been a school administrator for 30 years, old school type. She'd raised me and my siblings with strict rules and harsh punishments. My brother Kyle turned out okay, but still won't talk about our childhood. My sister Bridget moved to Portland right after high school and barely visits. And me, I spent years working through the damage. But when Rachel died and I was suddenly a single dad, my mother saw an opening. Saw a chance to fix what she thought was my weak parenting. Saw Maya as a kid who needed to be toughened up, disciplined. I kept her at a distance, supervised visits only, never overnight stays. Never alone time without me there to step in when she inevitably said something cruel disguised as honesty. But that Tuesday, I dropped my guard. I had work. My mother seemed calm on the phone, and I genuinely thought that even Helen Kane wouldn't be reckless enough to hurt a traumatized 7-year-old. I was dead wrong, and Maya almost died because of it. At Seattle Children's Hospital, they rushed Maya into the pediatric ICU. Dr. Christine Lee examined Maya while I stood there feeling like I might collapse. After 20 minutes, Dr. Lee pulled me into the hallway. "Your daughter's hypothermic. Core temperature was 94 when she got here. She also has water in her lungs. Aspiration pneumonitis. We need to watch her for 24 to 48 hours. There's a risk of delayed respiratory failure." "What does that mean?" My voice cracked. Dr. Lee's expression got hard. "Your daughter wasn't breathing when she was pulled from the water. She breathed in enough water to cause serious inflammation. Even though she's breathing now, the inflammation can get worse over the next 2 days. We're watching her closely." The hallway tilted. I grabbed the wall to stay upright. "How long was she alone near water?" Dr. Lee asked. "She wasn't supposed to be near the water at all," I said. "My mother was supposed to be watching her." Dr. Lee nodded. "I'm legally required to report this to CPS and the police. This is child endangerment at minimum. Possibly worse depending on what happened." "Do it," I said right away. "Report everything." 20 minutes later, Uncle Vincent showed up. He looked like he'd aged 10 years, face pale, clothes still damp, hands shaking. He found me in the waiting room and dropped into the chair next to me. "Trevor, I need to tell you what happened." "Yeah, you do." Uncle Vincent took a shaky breath. He's my mom's younger brother, 58, retired contractor, generally a good guy, way more reasonable than my mother. He'd stopped by to fix my mom's garage door. "I got there around 3:30, he started. "Your mom said Maya was playing in the living room. I was out in the garage working on the door track, making noise, not really paying attention." He paused, rubbed his face with both hands. "Then I heard your mother yelling, really yelling. I walked toward the house and through the garage door window I could see into the living room. Maya had apparently knocked over something. Looked like juice and some markers. Nothing major, just kid stuff. My blood started boiling, and your mother was screaming at her. Maya was backing away, shaking her head, trying to say something, but no sound was coming out. She was shutting down. That silence, that awful silence when Maya's trauma kicked in, and her voice just stopped. Dr. Walsh had explained it. Selective mutism triggered by stress and fear. I was about to go inside, Vincent continued, but then she grabbed Maya by the arm hard, dragged her toward the back door. Maya was fighting, trying to pull away, and your mother just kept yelling about how she needed to learn respect, needed to learn consequences. My hands were shaking. She pulled Maya outside. I ran after them, but by the time I got to the sliding door, Helen had already his voice broke. She pushed her Trevor straight into the pool. The world stopped. Maya went under right away. "She can't swim. Your mother just stood there watching like she expected Maya to figure it out. And then she realized Maya wasn't coming up. She started screaming for help. I ran out and jumped in. Maya had sunk to the bottom. She wasn't moving. Vincent's eyes were wet now. I got her out and started CPR. She wasn't breathing. I did chest compressions for probably 90 seconds, and she finally coughed up water and started breathing again. I've never been so scared. I couldn't speak. My mother, who'd raised 3 kids, who'd worked with kids for 3 decades, had pushed my traumatized daughter into a pool and watched her drown. "There's more," Vincent said quietly. "There are security cameras. One of them covers the back patio and pool area. Everything I just told you is on video." I looked up sharply. "Everything?" "Yes, all of it." "I need that footage. Already downloaded it to a flash drive before I left," Vincent said, pulling it from his pocket. "Trevor, I love my sister, but what she did, that's not discipline, that's assault. I took the flash drive, held it tight. Thank you for saving her for this. What are you going to do?" I looked toward the ICU where Maya was lying small and broken in a hospital bed. "Whatever it takes to make sure Helen never gets near Maya again, and I'm going to make sure to burn her life down." Over the next 48 hours, while Maya was watched around the clock, I put together a case that would destroy my mother's life. First stop, the police. I gave them the security footage, Uncle Vincent's statement, and my detailed account. The detective who took my statement, Ella, watched the video 3 times. When it finished, she looked at me and said, "We're filing charges. Assault of a child in the 2nd degree and criminal mistreatment in the 1st degree. Second stop, CPS. The social worker, Daniel Parr, interviewed Uncle Vincent, reviewed Maya's medical records, talked with Dr. Walsh about Maya's history. He also got the security footage. When he came back to me, his face was serious. "Mr. Kane, I'm opening a full investigation. Based on what I've seen, I'm recommending immediate emergency protective orders to keep your mother away from Maya and any other minors in the family." Third stop, my lawyer. I hired Jessica, a family law attorney. I showed her everything. She watched the security footage once, made notes, and looked at me with pure professional anger. "We're getting a permanent restraining order," she said. "We're also filing civil charges for emotional distress and medical expenses. Your mother's going to regret this for the rest of her life." And that's when I started phase 2 of making sure Helen faced every possible consequence for what she'd done. While Maya recovered in the children's hospital, I worked to document everything that would bury my mother legally, socially, and financially. Dr. Lee let Maya go home Thursday afternoon with strict instructions. Watch for breathing problems. No swimming. No baths without supervision. Follow up with Dr. Walsh right away. Maya hadn't spoken since the incident. Not one word. She'd regressed completely. She wouldn't let anyone touch her except me. Wouldn't eat unless I fed her. That first night back home, I sat on the floor next to her bed, watching her chest rise and fall, counting each breath, terrified. Around 2 a.m., she woke up screaming, "Can't breathe. Help, Mama," she called for Rachel. The trauma had sent her back to the worst day of her life. I held her while she cried silently. When she finally fell back asleep, I sat there in the dark and let myself feel the pure, cold rage I'd been keeping locked down. My mother had done this, had taken a healing kid and broken her again. Friday morning, I got a call from Detective Ella. "Mr. Kane, we're charging your mother with assault of a child in the 2nd degree and criminal mistreatment in the 1st degree. She'll be arraigned Monday morning." "Good. There's something else. We talked to several of your mother's neighbors. You might want to hear what they said." That afternoon, I met with Ella at the precinct. She had a file folder full of witness statements. Apparently, my mother's perfect neighborhood reputation was fake, and her neighbors had been noticing her behavior. The Palmers from next door. Helen's always yelling at someone. We've heard her screaming at her grandkids before. Not just discipline, but mean things, calling them weak, stupid disappointments. Then Guan's from across the street. We've seen her be really rough with a small kid in her backyard before, grabbing arms hard enough to leave marks, shoving. We almost called CPS once, but didn't want to cause family drama. Ruth, the retired teacher 3 doors down. Helen Kane is a bully. Always has been. She terrorized kids at the school where she worked. Parents complained, but she had tenure and connections, so nothing ever happened. 4 more neighbors gave similar statements. All of them had seen some form of Helen's cruelty. All of them had stayed quiet because they didn't want drama, and now their statements were going into an official police report that would follow my mother for the rest of her life. The security footage was the nuclear bomb, though. Jessica, my lawyer, had it professionally enhanced and timestamped. The video showed everything in perfect clarity. The video was 47 seconds long, and I was going to make sure everyone sees it. Saturday, I filed for a permanent restraining order. Jessica wrote up a petition that included the security footage, Vincent's testimony, medical records, Dr. Walsh's assessment of the psychological damage, police reports and charges, neighbor statements, my documented history of warning Helen about Maya's trauma. Sunday, I did something that might seem petty but felt necessary. I called my siblings and several family members, sent them the security footage with no context, just "This is what Mom did to Maya on Tuesday. Watch it before you call me." The responses were immediate. Kyle called within an hour, voice shaking. "Jesus Christ, Trevor, I'm never talking to her again. I can't watch this." Bridget called, crying. "I watched it 3 times because I couldn't believe it. Mom always said we were too sensitive, that she was just tough, but that's cruelty. I'm so sorry, Trevor." Uncle Vincent called everyone in the extended family, showed them the video. Within 48 hours, Helen went from respected family matriarch to outcast. Her phone went silent. Facebook posts got 0 engagement, and she started getting unfriended. The family group chat went quiet whenever her name came up. Her church quietly asked her to stop coming. Her book club kicked her out. The HOA board strongly suggested she resign. Her best friend of 30 years stopped returning calls completely. She had the nerve to call me during that time. "Son, I need to talk to you." "Shut it," I interrupted her. "Don't you dare, just give me 2 minutes," she cried. "I never wanted things to go this far. Please don't do this to your own mother. I don't have a mother. You can go to hell because that's where people like you should rot." "Helen," I hung up, but I wasn't done. Not even close. The civil lawsuit was next. Jessica filed on Maya's behalf, listing every expense and trauma, $47,000 in emergency room and ICU costs, $180,000 in projected ongoing therapy, 3 sessions weekly for an estimated 5 years, $250,000 for future psychiatric care and medication, and $500,000 in pain and suffering damages. Total $977,000. Helen's homeowner's insurance rejected the claim right away. Intentional acts aren't covered. She'd be paying out of pocket, which meant selling everything. 3 weeks after the incident, the permanent restraining order hearing happened. Jessica had prepared a case that was absolutely brutal. We presented everything. Helen's lawyer tried to argue that she'd made a mistake, that she loved Maya, that she was getting help, that a permanent order was too harsh. The judge shut him down fast. "Your client intentionally pushed a traumatized child into a pool and watched her drown. Permanent restraining order granted. Ms. Kane is prohibited from any contact with a minor child, direct or indirect, for a minimum of 10 years. 10 years. Maya would be 17 before Helen could even try to contact her. And that was assuming Helen got therapy, showed remorse, and asked the court to change the order. Helen's face fell apart when the judge read the order. She looked at me across the courtroom, eyes begging, mouth forming words she couldn't say out loud. I stared back with 0 emotion. After the hearing, Kyle pulled me aside. "Mom's falling apart. She's losing everything. Her friends, her church, her grandkids. Bridget won't talk to her. I won't talk to her. She's completely alone." "That's exactly what she deserves," I said. Kyle nodded. 2 months after the incident, Maya still wasn't talking. Dr. Walsh said the regression was bad. Worse than after Rachel's death, because this time the trauma came from family, someone who was supposed to be safe. Maya wouldn't go near water, wouldn't take baths, only very quick showers with me standing right outside the bathroom door. Couldn't sleep unless I was in her room. Had nightmares every single night. She'd wake up screaming, just like after Rachel died, but worse. Dr. Walsh bumped up our sessions to 3 times a week. We worked on grounding techniques, safe space visualization, slowly rebuilding Maya's sense of security. It was exhausting. Every day felt like climbing a mountain, only to slide back down at night when the nightmares came. I stopped taking most runs, only kept the ones I could handle locally with flexible hours. Money got tight. I burned through savings, paying for Maya's therapy, legal fees, medical bills. But I didn't care. Maya was alive. My kid was healing. Around the 3-month mark, something shifted. Maya was coloring at the kitchen table. She'd been doing a lot of art therapy, and Dr. Walsh said it was helping her process. When she looked up at me and whispered, "Dad," my heart stopped. "Yeah, baby, does Grandma hate me?" I put down the coffee I was holding and knelt next to her chair, looked into those big, scared eyes that looked so much like Rachel's. "No, sweetie, she doesn't hate you." Which then, why did she hurt me? How do you explain to a 7-year-old that some people are just cruel? Grandma has problems, I said carefully. Problems in her head that make her do mean things. But that's not about you. You didn't do anything wrong. You're perfect exactly as you are, baby. Maya thought about that. Are you going to send me back to her? Never, I said firmly. You're never seeing her again. I promise. I will always protect you. Maya nodded, then went back to coloring. But she'd spoken. For the first time in 3 months, and that night, for the first time since the incident, she slept 6 whole hours without waking up screaming. Progress. While Maya was slowly healing, Helen was falling apart. Uncle Vincent kept me updated. The criminal case was moving forward. Helen's lawyer had tried to work out a plea deal. Probation, community service, therapy, no jail time. The prosecutor said no. With the video evidence and the severity of Maya's trauma, they wanted jail time. Helen was looking at 12 to 15 months in county jail, plus 3 years probation, plus permanent criminal record. Her financial situation was a disaster. The civil lawsuit was moving forward. Jessica had filed for summary judgment. The listed damages totaled just under $1 million. Helen didn't have it. She'd have to sell her house to even start paying. Uncle Vincent said she'd stopped leaving the house. Just sat inside all day. Curtains drawn. Phone clutched in her hand like she was waiting for someone to call. No one was calling. She's lost weight. Vincent told me looks terrible. Keeps saying she needs to explain things to you that you don't understand, that Maya overreacted. Still no remorse? None. She genuinely believes she did nothing wrong. That's the scariest part. 4 months after the incident, I got a call from an unknown number. Didn't recognize it, but something made me answer. Trevor, Helen's voice. Hoarse. Desperate. Please. I need to talk to you about Maya. My blood went cold. You're violating the restraining order by calling me. I know, but please listen. How did you get this number? I called your dispatch office and said I was a shipper. Trevor, please. I need to see Maya. I need to explain. She's too young to understand that I was trying to help her. I hung up. Immediately called Detective Ella. She just called me from an unknown number. Direct contact. Clear violation of the restraining order. I have the recording. Ella's voice was sharp. Forward it to me. I'll file the report and send officers to pick her up. I sent the recording. 2 hours later, Ella called back. Officers are on their way to serve the warrant. We'll hold her for 72 hours minimum pending a violation hearing. Helen spent 3 days in jail before her lawyer could get her out. The bail was raised to $75,000. She had to sell her car to make the bondsman's fee. After that, the phone call stopped, but Uncle Vincent said Helen's desperation was getting worse. She'd driven by my house twice from far away, not close enough to violate the order, but close enough to see. She'd tried to friend request people on social media who knew me, trying to get information about us. She'd sent a letter to Dr. Walsh's office asking about Maya's progress. Dr. Walsh sent it back, unopened, and reported the contact attempt. 5 months after the incident, the criminal trial date was set. Helen was going to trial in 6 weeks. Her lawyer had told her to take a plea deal, but Helen refused. She kept insisting she'd done nothing wrong, that any jury would see she was just trying to help Maya become stronger. Her lawyer quit, filed a motion to withdraw, saying Helen was impossible to work with and refusing to follow legal advice. The judge approved it. Helen had to scramble to find new representation, and the only lawyer willing to take her case was a young public defender type who looked scared at the arraignment. Uncle Vincent called me one night, voice heavy. Trevor, I think Helen's having a breakdown. She's talking to herself, not sleeping. She's obsessed with the idea that if she could just explain things to Maya, Maya would understand and forgive her. Maya's 7, I said coldly. She doesn't need to understand anything except that Helen hurt her and she's never going to see her again. I know, I'm worried Helen's going to do something stupid. That's not my problem. He was quiet for a moment. You've really cut her off completely, haven't you? She hurt my daughter. What part of that should make me want a relationship with her? Vincent didn't call back after that, and I went back to focusing on what mattered, my kid's recovery. 6 months after the incident, we'd found something like a new normal. Maya was talking more regularly, still quiet but communicating. She was sleeping better, still had nightmares, but less than before. Dr. Walsh said we'd probably reached about 60% of where she had been before the incident. The criminal trial was scheduled for a Monday morning. I wasn't planning to go. I'd done my deposition, given all my evidence, and the prosecutor said my testimony wasn't needed. The video evidence was enough. But the morning of the trial, Kyle called. You should come. The prosecutor says it'll be powerful if you're there. So, I went. sat in the back of the courtroom while the prosecution laid out their case. The charges were assault of a child in the second degree and criminal mistreatment in the first degree. Washington state law, both felonies, both carrying serious time. The prosecutor, Lauren, methodically destroyed any defense Helen's lawyer tried to put up. She played the security footage 4 separate times. Each time the video played, you could see the jury react. 12 people watching a 7-year-old get dragged to a pool and pushed in, watching her struggle underwater, watching Helen just stand there. By the 4th viewing, 3 jurors were crying. Uncle Vincent testified first, gave a clear, detailed account of what he saw. Helen's lawyer tried to suggest Vincent was biased against Helen, but Vincent shut that down fast. "I'm her brother. I've known her my whole life, and what I saw that day was deliberate cruelty. There's no other way to describe it." Dr. Walsh testified next, explained Maya's trauma history, the years of therapy, the progress we'd made, and how completely Helen's actions had destroyed all of it. The medical testimony was equally brutal. Dr. Lee from Seattle Children's explained the aspiration pneumonitis, the respiratory monitoring, the very real risk that Maya could have died in the 48 hours after the incident. Helen's lawyer tried to argue that it was a disciplinary action gone wrong, that Helen panicked, that she didn't mean to harm Maya, that she immediately called for help. The prosecutor tore that story apart in cross-examination. "Miss Kane, you grabbed Maya by the arm hard enough to jerk her entire body, correct?" Helen hesitated. Yes, and you dragged her to the pool while she was clearly trying to get away. She needed to face her fear. Yes or no, Miss Kane? You dragged a 7-year-old kid who was trying to get away from you? Yes. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on both counts. Helen's face went white. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder, but she just sat there staring at nothing. Behind me, I heard Kyle let out a shaky breath. Bridget, who'd driven up from Portland for the verdict, was crying quietly. Sentencing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. The prosecutor was asking for 18 months in custody, plus 5 years probation. Helen's lawyer was begging for probation only, community service, therapy. The judge would decide. Those 3 weeks were weird. Maya was doing better. Had started asking about going back to school in the fall. Was talking more. Even laughed at a dumb joke I made. And meanwhile, Helen was waiting to learn if she'd spend the next 1.5 years in jail. The sentencing hearing was quick. The judge looked at Helen with obvious disgust. "Miss Kane, I've been on the bench for 22 years. I've seen a lot of terrible things, but that's one of the worst things I've ever seen in this courtroom." He paused. "I'm sentencing you to 15 months, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. You'll also be required to complete anger management and parenting classes, though I doubt you'll ever be allowed around kids unsupervised again. The restraining order stays in place. Court is done." Helen broke down, sobbed as the bailiffs came to take her into custody. She looked at me one last time, eyes desperate and begging. I met her gaze without flinching, let her see exactly how little her pain mattered to me, and watched them lead her away in handcuffs. 15 months. She'd probably serve 12 with good behavior. She'd be in her mid-60s when she got out, and she'd never be the same person again. Outside the courtroom, Kyle and Bridget found me. We stood there in silence. For a moment, Kyle looked at me. "Do you feel better now that she's going to jail?" I thought about it. I don't feel better, but I feel like justice was done, and that's enough. We went our separate ways. When I got home, Maya ran to me and hugged me tight. The trial was over. Helen was going to jail. The restraining order was permanent until Maya turned 18. Our life could move forward. But Helen's life was crumpling more and more, and that was exactly what she deserved. 1 year after Helen pushed Maya into the pool, we'd finally found peace. Maya was speaking in complete sentences, sleeping through most nights, even asking about maybe trying art classes at the community center. Dr. Walsh said we were at about 80% recovery. Still work to do, but healing. She was still afraid of pools, probably always would be, but she could take baths now with me in the other room. She could sleep through most nights and talk to people without shutting down. Helen had been locked up for 5 months when Uncle Vincent called with a warning. "Trevor, Helen's getting out early, severe overcrowding, and she's been a model prisoner. They're releasing her next week." My blood went cold. The restraining order is still active. Absolutely. Still good until Maya turns 18. But I thought you should know. She's been unstable, obsessed with seeing your kid. She's convinced herself that if she could just talk to Maya one time, everything would be fixed. That's insane. I know. Just be careful. She's not thinking straight. I thanked him and hung up. Reinforced all the locks on my doors and windows. Double-checked the security cameras I'd installed after the incident. Made sure Maya knew to never open the door for anyone without checking with me first. Helen was released on a Thursday. That Sunday evening around 8 p.m., my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera feed. Helen was standing on my front porch. She looked like absolute heck. Thin, gray, aged 20 years. Prison had destroyed her. She was holding cheap grocery store flowers and crying. I didn't open the door. Instead, I picked up my phone and called Detective Ella directly. Detective Helen Kane is at my front door violating the restraining order. I have her on camera. Don't engage. I'm sending a patrol car now. Document everything. Helen started knocking, then pounding. Her voice came through the door, shrill and desperate. Trevor, please. I need to talk to you. I need to see Maya. Please, I just want to explain. Upstairs, I heard Maya's door open. Small footsteps on the landing. Maya's scared voice. Dad, stay upstairs, baby. Lock your door. It's okay. Helen must have heard Maya because she started screaming. Maya, sweetheart, it's Grandma. I love you. I'm sorry. I was just trying to help. I love you so much. The pounding got more frantic. Helen was sobbing now, full hysterical sobs. Trevor, please don't take my granddaughter from me. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. Please. Ella's voice was calm in my ear. Patrol's 3 minutes out. Keep recording. I stood in my hallway watching through the camera as Helen fell apart on my porch. She slid down to her knees, still crying, still begging. The flowers dropped and scattered. I lost everything, she wailed. My house, my friends, my kids. I went to jail. Everything. And it's all because of one mistake. Trevor, have mercy. I'm your mother. I looked at this woman who'd raised me, who taught me to ride a bike and helped with homework and came to my high school graduation. This woman who'd also emotionally abused me and my siblings, who'd hurt my child. The police got there 4 minutes later. 2 officers approached carefully. Helen was still on her knees, sobbing. One officer helped her up while the other knocked on my door. I opened it, keeping the chain lock on, showed the officer my phone with the restraining order, documentation, and the security footage. She's been here about 6 minutes. Pounding on the door and screaming. The officer nodded. We'll take her into custody. Detective Ellis said you'd file a formal violation complaint. Absolutely. I watched through the gap as they put Helen in handcuffs. She wasn't fighting back, just crying. As they walked her to the patrol car, she turned and looked at me. Her face was destroyed, makeup running, eyes desperate. Trevor, I'm your mother. I love you. I love Maya. Please don't do this. I looked her straight in the eyes, kept my voice flat and cold. You're nothing to me or to Maya. Go to hell. Helen's face crumpled. She let out this animal wail, raw and broken, and collapsed. The officers had to hold her up. They loaded her into the car while she sobbed uncontrollably. I watched the patrol car drive away, closed the door. Upstairs, I found Maya standing at the top of the stairs, eyes wide. Was that Grandma? Yeah, baby. She sounded really sad. I climbed the stairs and knelt in front of Maya, looked into her face. Sometimes people who hurt others feel sad when they face consequences, but that doesn't mean they didn't deserve those consequences. Grandma hurt you badly. She has to live with that, and we don't have to feel sorry for her. Okay. Maya thought about that, then nodded. I don't want to see her again. You never have to, I promise. She hugged me tight. We stood there for a long moment, and I felt her heart beating against my chest, steady, alive, safe. That's all that mattered. My daughter was alive and healing. Everything else was just noise. The next morning, Detective Ella called. Helen's being charged with violating the restraining order since she's already got a criminal record and she's on probation. This is serious. She's looking at another 6 months minimum, and her probation will be extended. Good. 2 weeks later, Helen was sentenced to 8 additional months for violating the restraining order. Her probation was extended to 7 years. She'd be in her mid-60s when it finally ended. And during all that time, she'd be prohibited from contacting me or Maya in any way. Kyle and Bridget both cut her off completely. Uncle Vincent tried to maintain some contact but eventually gave up. She won't accept reality. Every conversation is her trying to convince me that she was right, that you're the bad guy. I can't do it anymore. 8 months later, Maya had turned 8 several months ago. We had a party, small, just a few kids from her new school, Kyle's family. Bridget drove up from Portland. Maya laughed and played, and for the first time in years she looked like a normal kid. That night, I sat in the living room and thought about everything that had happened. Helen was still in jail. Would be for another few months. The civil judgment had forced the sale of her house. We'd gotten $380,000 so far, with the rest structured as payments from her pension. She had nothing, and I didn't feel guilty about any of it. I feel like justice was served, and more importantly, my daughter is safe.